This is my culturally responsive library project. In this slide, you will see the 50 books that I have randomly selected for this project. On this slide, you're going to see my class demographic. I am in a pre-K class of 4 and 5-year-olds at Booker T. Washington Early Head Start in downtown Phoenix, and there's a total of 20 students in my class, 9 females, 11 males, and when doing the race, I put students in multiple categories if they were biracial. For African American, I had 2 students, I had 18 Latinx, I had 3 white, and for those that spoke a different language or multilingual, I had 5. On this slide, you're going to see the characters that I had in my book, and there's going to be a side-by-side chart of the book characters and then the main characters. So for the characters that were in the book, I had 25 females, I had 27 males, and then I had 26 animals or non-human characters. And for the main characters, there was 14 females, there was 20 males, and then there was 22 non-animal or animal main characters. And for this next slide, I did disabilities, and so in total we had about 3 books that did go over disabilities, but I chose this one because this one stood out to me the most, because this one went over a variety of different disabilities, as well as how it talks about how some people are born with disabilities or others have get a disability from an illness or from an accident. And it doesn't go over just somebody in a wheelchair or anything like that. It also goes over learning disabilities, which I think is very important for students to learn at an early age. And so for this next book, for the next slide, it's Economic Struggles or Poverty, and it's The Homeless Hibernating Bear, and this was the only book we had, which makes me so sad because I wish that students had more of an eye-opener, and as well as to see those around them that do have struggles, as well as some of the students in my class would relate because the school that I am placed in is in a very high poverty area, and I feel like the students can relate based off of their own experiences as well as what they witness when they're going to and leaving from school. This next slide, I have a family structure, so I have it for my classroom as well as my books that I chose. So for my classroom, there's 2 students that had single parents and had more than one sibling. There was for the mom and dad and 2 children, there was 9, and for those who had other than mom and dad and 2 children, there was 9. And for same-sex or transgender parents, that was 0. And for the family structure of my books, the same for the same-sex and transgender parents, there was 0. And there was a majority of mom, dad, and 2 children, and that was 45, whereas other books that had other type of family structures, there was only 5. And so for this next slide, I have language, and so I did the class demographic as well as the stories. So for my class demographic, there's 5 students that speak Spanish as well as English, and then there's 15 that only speak English. And for the stories that I had in my class for the books, there was 41 that were in English only, there was 8 in Spanish, and there was 1 other than Spanish. And so the book that I did put on this slide is called Fiesta, and what I liked about it is that it had the English and Spanish translation, which I feel like is very important for students to have an eye-opener to and to be exposed to. And so for this next slide, it's the race and the stories, and for the main characters, I was very surprised. So for the race in general, there was 12 African American or Black characters, 3 Asian or Asian American, 3 Native or Indigenous, 1 Middle Eastern Arab or Arab American, 11 white, and 7 Latinx. And so for the main characters, there's 11 African American or Black main characters, 1 Asian or Asian American, 8 white main characters, 4 Latinx, and 2 Native and Indigenous, and there was 0 Middle Eastern Arab or Arab American main characters. And with that being said, going over all those from both categories, there was 22 that was non-human or animals, and so this was very surprising to me because I didn't expect the results to be like that. And it was very surprising that there was a lot of African American main characters and stories, um, as well as there being mainly non human characters. So, for the windows, what I believe a window would be is that the students are able to really connect and see themselves in a lot of the stories, since a majority of them are non-human based and they're not going to be able to visually put themselves in certain situations, but I do feel like they probably will gravitate more to them. And for mirrors, I feel like there's a good variety of a diverse type of books with Latinx, especially the ones in Spanish, and then there's a lot of African American books like that, and then a disability book, which is very important because there is a student who has a disability in my placement, and so I believe there's a lot more mirrors than there is windows. Thank you.